Alright, gang. Thought I would do a couple more videos. I'm going to do one on Prometheus now because I just saw that movie. This is one of those things, remember I was saying that I was having a hard couple of months and I was just looking for things to thinking about something to get me through the hard time. And Prometheus isn't something, I mean, I read about it a few years ago, how Ridley Scott was in talks with Sigourney Weaver to have her be in the movie and they were going to explore the space jockey's background. And I remember thinking, oh, this probably isn't going to be very good, just because I didn't really look at Ridley Scott critically and think of how many great movies he's given us, and I have not seen all of his movies, but every one of his movies I've seen, I've liked, if not outright just fucking loved. Like the original Alien, his direction was phenomenal. You know, everyone loves Blade Runner. Personally, I didn't really like Blade Runner, but it's like one of those cultural huge movies. I love Kingdom of Heaven. I thought that was great. Gladiator was great. I mean, there's so many good movies he's given us that are just out of this world. And I should have just said, you know what, he's going to go back and re-explore his own territory. This is his backyard, and he's going to fucking make it his bitch. And he did. Okay, so a lot of people didn't like this movie. The online reviews, half of them are, we hated the movie. Half of them, the other half is, it's very flawed, but I still liked it anyway. I don't see what's flawed about this movie. To me, there is nothing in this movie other than, I'm going to spoil it a little bit. There's one point in the movie that I don't understand. When the ship comes crashing down and it's going to fall on them, right? They're running. Why wouldn't you just run sideways? Because it's long. It's going to fall this way. They're running, and instead of just going like sideways. So that's the only part of the movie, to me, didn't make any sense. And one other thing I would have changed. The opening salvo of music and the ending salvo of music sounds too, like, it sounds too much like one of those inspirational, like it's too peppy, and it should have been toned down a little more. The whole rest of the soundtrack is awesome, but it's just, it was a little too, like The Patriot or something like that. It just reminded me of one of those, chest-pounding kind of inspirational, patriotic kind of soundtrack. I didn't really like that, but everything else of the movie I fucking loved. So it starts out with the engineer. He's on Earth, and I didn't get this, but after, that's probably the only thing I really didn't catch right off the bat, that he drinks this black stuff, it kills him, you see his DNA start splitting and rupturing, and I thought, okay, it destroyed him. But then you see his DNA start combining and splitting, and then it eventually becomes us, and I didn't realize. So then we're trying to figure out, we find these pictograms on all these different civilizations, and it tells us to go to this constellation of stars to find them, and then we do, and they're in hypersleep, and oh, it's gorgeous. Like the characters, like this is, some people were saying the characters are flat, and, but honestly, if you really look at the first Alien movie, are any of those characters, besides Ripley, are any of those characters that phenomenal that you'll always remember them? Like Yepet Moto, I can't remember his name. Just a regular dude, pretty much. And they're not, like, the only characters that really stand out. Ripley is good, but it's Vasquez and, like, Hudson. They really stand out. But out of the whole series, they're the only characters, well, Bishop is cool too, but you know what I mean. Like, they're the only characters that really stand out. Everyone else is just there for something bad to happen to, okay, something bad happened to this guy, this enemy is tough kind of thing, Like, it's just, here's a bunch of characters, it could be you, it could be anybody. Here's their reactions in this situation. They're regular people, they're just, here's their reaction, here's how they got out of the situation, here's the danger they were in kind of thing. It's not supposed to be, you're not going to remember the main character, the girl, I can't remember her character's name, but you're not going to be thinking about her in 20 years. This is just, she's in this situation to explain the story. It's not, it's just exposition. It doesn't matter who she is. Just here's her choices. David is awesome, though. David is probably one of the best characters in the whole series. He's absolutely phenomenal. I loved his character start to finish. Everybody in this movie did absolutely great. Bad movies are when a character's rationale gets destroyed, how they do something out of character or whatever. Everybody's rationales in this movie, I just loved how, there's different characters that have different motivations, and there's hidden things, like David isn't necessarily a bad character, he's not evil, but he was programmed to do certain things, so he's doing them, and he is a little bit creepy sometimes, but really, he ends up saving himself and saving everybody later on. But yeah, like, I loved how the engineers looked, how they had this, they almost looked like old school Greek statues. They had that old school Greek statue mouth, and they had like this really waxen, perfect complexion, and their musculature is absolutely like godlike. Really, it really is. I loved their design, and I loved how it's shocking that the space jockey, and this is something in the first Alien. Everyone, I don't know if the space jockey was supposed to be just a background. Okay, here they walk in, there's this big dead alien. What is that? Who cares? Here's the rest of the movie. Or if they realized the space jockey is going to matter later on. And I don't know. It could have just very well been just a background prop. But for a background prop, this is one of the things everybody talked about for so long, and they're still talking about what is the space jockey. You know, that thing blew my mind when I saw it. So they go back and you find out that skull is a helmet. It's just a gigantic humanoid. So that was I thought was fucking amazing. Like you take something that every human who is into movies and into sci-fi, everybody loved the old school Blade Runner, the old school Alien, or all these movies were just such Star Wars, such groundbreaking movies that it becomes so into our pop culture. It's pretty much our mythology. Like it's fucking, pop culture is such a powerful thing. It really is. And to go back to that and add something to it and then make it cool and not, go back to it and have it be stupid, to me is absolutely phenomenal. Just it's the brilliance of Ridley Scott. Like he's such a phenomenal guy. I can't understand going. It's like imagine if James Cameron said, "I'm going to go back and make another Terminator movie," and everyone's like, "Oh, great, here we go." And then he makes a Terminator movie that leads up to say, he has a prequel or something like that, and it ends up being absolutely fucking awesome. How often does that happen? So anyway, Prometheus. I loved every fucking frame of that movie, except for the couple of things I would have changed. But the characters were awesome. The fucking visuals were gorgeous. The things that happen, the things that kick off other things. The proto fucking face hugger with it. I thought that was fucking gorgeous. How it latched onto one guy, and this thing, you don't really understand how strong the face huggers are. You see it in the second one, how it takes 2 full-grown men to pull a face hugger off. This thing wrapped around Buddy's arm. And the other guy fucking accidentally broke his arm trying to get it off. I'm like, yes, look how fucking scary this thing is. It's awesome. So I love part of it is, we're trying to find out where we come from. And the one line in the movie I think is the most poignant is David says, you're wondering why the space jockeys made you. Why did you make me? And she's like, I don't know, because we could. And David's like, imagine if you asked them why you made humans, and then that was your answer. Wouldn't you feel horribly disappointed? It just made me go, holy shit, the robot has more logic than... Phenomenal. But you get to see the Weyland Yutani when it's just Weyland, and you get to see Mr. Weyland. And one of the things I took from the movie is, the series is always the Weyland Yutani Corporation trying to master the aliens. So if you think about it, we find out our gods are the engineers. They create us, and then they create a bioweapon, and for a war we don't know about. We don't know what the background is. And it could have just been to wipe us out because we're an experiment. They create a bioweapon. It kills them. So something kills our gods. We want to control that. So we immediately go out that we have to harness that bioweapon. If it can kill our gods, then we need to fucking harness it. So that's basically one of those fallacies because they're never going to harness it. It's always going to backfire, and it always does. But I love that part of the movie. Anyway, there's so many phenomenal, tasty bits in this movie. Just really good. Oh, that surgery scene where you find out main character's impregnated, and then she's got that fight or flight thing going on where if a Wolverine's paw is stuck in a fucking bear trap, it bites off its own arm. So she's basically like, I have to do self-surgery with this machine to save my life and get this thing out of me. She does it. She goes in there, shoots herself up full of anesthetic. She's fucking pasty and white, sweaty as hell, and the fucking thing lasers her stomach. And I love that she goes in and she even says, okay, I need a C-section. The machine says, I'm only programmed for male anatomy surgery. She's like, fuck, and this thing is busting out of her, and she's like, okay, foreign body, abdominal, go. So she gets in the machine, and cuts her open, pulls out the thing, and it looks like a squid, and it's like, okay, cool, it's evolving. And then I love that her guts are hanging open, and I'm like, well, what is the machine going to do now? It's got to sew her back up or something. It just does this automatic staple thing. It's like, she just had major fucking surgery, and she's on her feet running like 2 minutes later. I love that. I love how much fucking intestinal fortitude would it take to do what she did and then keep going. Most people would be like, I'm horrified, crawl into a corner and cry. She's fucking up and running for the rest of the movie. Like, phenomenal. So yeah, just still fucking blown away at the concepts in that movie. Just the visuals, like I said, the storyline. I loved David. I loved how there was no real like villain. Like it's not usually the humans turn on each other. In this one, yeah, there was kind of that thing going on, but it wasn't a direct. The real villain are the of course are the bioweapon and the engineers. But I love how everything in that movie just phenomenal. I just can't even put it into words yet. Maybe I'll do another review later when I've had more time to sink in. But walking out of the theater, I couldn't stop thinking about that movie. And I'm like, oh my god, that movie was good. Not because it was violent, not because it had a lot of action, just some of the questions it asked, the scenes, the setups, the lead-tos, at the end, I'm going to spoil it, of course, when the proto-alien, like the face hugger, the one they pull out of her, it ends up keep growing, and I'm like, oh, nice, this is going to keep going. And when the fucking engineer comes for her and tries to kill her, she opens the fucking door, the face hugger thing grabs a hold of them both, but gets a hold of the engineer and pulls him in, and when the mouth opens, I'm like, that is the fucking coolest looking mouth I've ever seen. It's like all these fucking incisors and shit, and it just looks like it wants to fuck him up, and I don't know if the thing recognizes him and says, oh, you created me, and I'm gonna kill you. So that's what it looks like. Fucking impregnates him. And then you see a proto-xenomorph come out, and it looks very weird. And I like how it doesn't even have an exoskeleton yet, and its internal mouth is like just a big scraping, like shovel-looking thing. It doesn't, and it's got a pointy head. You can tell it's going to evolve, and I love that. It just shows here's the origins of a creature you've grown up with and love. So I love that he goes back to it. The sterile environments inside of the ship are gorgeous. It's just very familiar, but not just we're going to play up something you love, because some movies will do that. Transformers did that. Let's make something familiar just because it's nostalgic, not for any other reason. Like, let's just play on something that you love. And this movie didn't do that. This movie said, let's make the technology look in line with the series, but slightly before all these other events. Ridley, if you're listening, thank you a million times to make this movie, because it literally made my fucking geek sense just explode. I don't even know what to say. I know there's a lot of people out there that hate it, but the movie is not, like I said, it's a rationalization movie of trying to figure out where we come from to maybe find out why we're here, and then realizing the answer is not really important. It really isn't. I just love some of those concepts. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, just wanted to say I'm gushing over this movie. It's one of the best movies I've seen in years. I loved it through and through.